Hello, everyone, and Delilah. Welcome back to my channel. So today we're doing the Murder, She Wrote book tag, which is an original book tag. So we'll have all the prompts and stuff linked down below. And I'm sure you know all of us here, but would you all like to introduce yourselves and your channels?
I am Michael Hagerty, aka Evie. My channel is She Was Only Evie. Apparently, I'm getting back into BookTube because I just posted a tag video right before this, so yay! But I read a little bit of anything and everything, except for apparently cozy mysteries, which is ironic considering this tag is related to that. Oops.
I'm Mort Metzger. Is that how I say my own last name? Angela from Literature Science Alliance. And yeah, I read lots of things.
I'm Amos Tupper, aka Ariel, from A Couple Books with Ariel. I, unlike Evie, have not quite gotten back into BookTube. Someday it will happen, but I read mostly fantasy and then lately lots of other things as well. Except also I don't read cozy mysteries, which is probably a shame. We'll get there.
I think I'm the only one. But that's okay. Baby steps.
Cozy mysteries are how I got into adult fiction. It was just when I was like 13.
I'll take that.
The Cat Who series, man, it's classic.
So this was inspired because Angela Lansbury unfortunately passed away last week.
All right.
And Murder, She Wrote is one of my favorite shows. Grew up watching it, so I'm so excited to do this tag.
We also have to add, not only is this an original tag, but it's an original tag that you wrote, correct? This was your creation? I just want to make sure we highlight that.
Yeah.
Because that's awesome.
Thank you. Okay, so we can just go ahead and get started so this isn't an hour and a half long like they usually are.
Also, before we get started, you may be noticing that our other compatriot, Katrina, is not here. We love her. Mwah. I almost went like that, and I'm like, that's not right.
Like a Care Bear's heart.
Yeah, it's fine. But she is here in spirit. So,
Yes. Okay, so question 1 is Jessica Fletcher, your favorite female author. And Jessica Fletcher on the show is a murder mystery author. So I have 2 answers for this because I know it's going to overlap. So I have Robin Hobb. And then I also have a newer one, which is Jen Lyons. I'm obsessed with the series. And it's fantasy and super fun and puzzly, and everybody should read it.
I'm so excited for her next thing, whatever it is. It's going to be a blast. No, you can't read it, Evie. Moving on.
Okay.
Wow. We just need like an X in the corner.
This is not an Evie recommendation. All right, $10 on what Evie's going to say.
I don't know. Are you guys going to guess?
I mean, it's hard because you do have a lot, but I do think in terms of volume of books you consistently love by an author, if it's not Hobb, you're lying to yourself.
Well, that was my first choice, and I assumed that multiple other people in this chat were going to choose that. So I chose also 2 authors other than Robin Hobb. Zora Neale Hurston. Fantastic. And Sarah Tolmie. I really have liked everything that she's read. Or everything that she's written that I've read so far. So she's the one who wrote All the Horses of Iceland and The Fourth Island. And I've read 2 Travelers, which is it's a collection of 2 novellas. And she's very, very purposeful in how she writes. It's more literary fantasy than anything. And I'm very excited to get more into her works as well. I'm reading The Stone Boatman next month, and I'm very, very excited about it. But Zora Neale Hurston is a classic 1930s, 1940s author, American author, and her character work is on par with Robin Hobb, genuinely.
I mean, I like Their Eyes Are Watching God more than any of the Farseer books. So.
That's not saying much because you really didn't like the Farseer ones, so.
All right. Well, my answer is not that crazy. I didn't think about if other people would use it or anything. I thought there was like a small chance that maybe Evie would, but I also knew that Zornia, Hurston, and Hob would be higher. And this was just the easiest book for me to grab, but it's N.K. Jemisin.
That's what I thought she would say. I was like,
Yeah.
I've read every word that is currently published by Jemisin. I have nothing else until November 1st. And I'm rereading The City We Became very soon. I love Jemisin's words. I joke, and I think I'm serious, that I would read a grocery list that she writes, especially if it has snarky footnotes or something like that. I love reading her blog posts. I've actually read a lot of her blog posts as well. I just love her brain and her character work and her world building. Her plotting, maybe I don't care about, but I don't care because I love everything else that I'm just like there. I'm just like, whatever, plot. Whatever that's for. So I don't know. Like, there on any given day, it's hard for me to decide who my favorite author is, but she's always in the top 3 mix. So for favorite female author, it was a no-brainer.
So I also had 2. I'm going to hold up one book, and then I couldn't find any of my books from the other author, but I would say Octavia E. Butler is one of my favorite authors. I've read at this point 3 of her books, and I'm slowly like trying to read more. I do feel like you have to be in the right mindset to read her works because they are so beautiful, so poignant, and they are tough because they don't shy away from anything. But I'm slowly working through like her entire, sort of body of work. And so I have not disliked anything that I've read by her so far. And then I feel like the other one, no one's going to be surprised because she's like my OG. And so my other favorite is Tamora Pierce.
Yeah.
She never will not be a favorite. She'll never not be a nostalgia read for me, even though like I reread recently the first book in her like first series. I actually enjoyed it more as an adult than I did as a kid. But even so, I'm like, wow, this is pretty dated in terms of like how they wrote like YA fantasy and even almost like middle grade fantasy back in the, I didn't realize like her first book came out in like the 80s. I think I was looking at the publication. So it's a little dated, but I just have a soft spot for it. So I was like, no one's going to be surprised I hold up this author, but that's fine.
Butler's someone I'm hoping to catch up with. If not this year, for sure next year. I only have a small child, whatever the short story collection is by her, and Fledgling.
Bloodchild?
Yes.
I have that and Fledgling, and then if there's the new stuff Amazon's released, even though it's just unpublished stuff that they've just published, so I feel weird about those. But
yeah, I saw that and I was a little like, I'm not sure. I mean, I'll probably still check it out.
I'll probably read it, but like I'm definitely reading it with the same lens that I read Survivor, which is the one book that she like took out of her canon.
I don't think I knew about that one.
It's a book in the Patternist cycle series.
Okay. So I think the next one I'm going to read is the Parable of the Talents is what I have next for my next book with her because I loved Parable of the Sower. And I know they're like
Talents more. Most people like Talents more.
Interesting.
I like Talents more, and like most people I talk to tend to think it's at least a half step up.
I mean, I think also for me, it's like I know that they are in the same series, but like because I know the series unfortunately was not finished before she passed away, and like also because it's like there's time jump, it's a related character but a different character. I almost still think of them as separate. So I don't know if that will affect
where
it.
It's actually a continuation. So normally Butler does that, right? She always. This is actually you still get the same perspective as the first one, and it does end like it's easily a duology. Easily.
I thought the next book was from the point of view of the daughter.
She's part of it too, but the mother's still in there.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. That's exciting because I love
There's like
that
3 or
character.
4 point of views, which makes it really fun. So sorry. But Parable of the Talents, I think you'll have fun with, and you don't have to worry about it being incomplete. I think it's once you finish it, you realize why it's incomplete and why she was scared of taking the next step.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good to know. I didn't realize there were multiple perspectives. I'm very excited to know that now.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, Jessica.
Sorry.
It was a good tangent. So prompt number 2 is relatives, because Jessica Fletcher has a zillion relatives in every episode. So this is a book that is family focused or has found family. And so I picked Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston.
I want to read that.
It's really fun, but her brother's gone missing, and then she gets this like package where her brother has nominated her to go to this leadership camp, but it's really magic school. And at magic school, she meets these friends and kind of finds her family and her group, and it's just really cute. I loved it so much.
So mine is Sinlin Ascends, or The Entire Books of Babel by
Ooh.
Josiah Bancroft.
I almost picked that, and I was like, Evie's going to pick this one.
I love that.
I like it, but it's funny that this is the first time in all of the time Senlin Ascend has ever come up that anyone's told me there's found family in this series.
Oh, yeah.
There's found family in this
I'm
series.
just saying, you guys bring this up every TV tag.
Sorry.
Continue.
Okay.
To be fair, I only just read books 2 and 3, so.
Wait, you didn't read book 1?
She skipped book 1, jumped into
No,
2.
I read book 1, but it's been like.
Oh, I was like,
back.
what kind of insanity is this?
No.
You monster.
Anyways, so yeah, Senlin Ascends, if you don't know what it's about a guy named Senlin, and he ascends a tower to find his wife. There you go. But there is a cast of characters that he meets through his travels and his journeys, and it's just so good. It's whimsical, but also at times really dark, and I just love Josiah Bancroft's writing. It's great. Also, honorable mention to I didn't even think about it until you mentioned yours, Stephanie. The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barth.
Oh yeah.
It's
Yeah.
I need to reread it. It's so cute. And it's a middle grade, and I feel like most middle grades have some sort of found family element to it, which is great.
This was hard, but I made sure all my other found family books made it on the list somewhere else. Because, I mean, character interpersonal relationships are why I read, I think. Like, that's why when there's ever a book that just follows an isolated individual, I struggle. See Farseer. But mine for this one is Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher.
I just read that. I loved it.
Isn't it so good?
It's so good.
First
It's
of all,
so
the
good.
American edition has this foil of a bone.
Yeah. It's
Bone
just
Dog's
a
already
well-made
dead.
book.
So you don't have to worry about Bone Dog. Here's the foil and the end page.
It's such a gorgeously constructed book. Like,
and it's this long. So if you're ever just like, I need a book that feels like I've just watched like a mini series of cozy, weird, dark fairy tale-ness, this is it. This is for that mood. And the found family is a head witch with a demon chicken, and Agnes, who's a little bit bad at being a godmother, and she gets a chick. There's a bone dog. Mara's crafty and doesn't quite know what she's doing. And then there's a disgraced warrior. They are the best.
I loved that book so much.
Is this on the list of books I'm not allowed to read?
You can, because it's short, but you can't tell me if you hate it. You can just DNF it and leave it in peace.
Yeah, I would
not have thought that had cuteness in it based on that cover.
This book is, well, this is her war. She made this. She's very crafty. This is the nettle cloak she makes. It was one of her tasks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't actually love the cover, but I love the production of the book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wish we had the dust jacket of the UK cover on this book, but the UK book is not as well crafted as this one in terms of like the detailing. Mm-hmm. It also feels better in person. This is a very smooth dust jacket. But
I actually like that cover more than the UK one.
Sure, I just think that this doesn't rest. So there's been a marketing problem with this book. People think, because T. Kingfisher writes in every genre, so people think based off this cover and some of the marketing that this was a horror fairy tale.
Which it's not.
It's not. It's a very whimsical, dark fairy tale. And I said the word whimsical. You do not. Whimsical horror is niche. That does not exist. Like it does, but no. Like I know a lot of the negative reviews where I wanted something darker, scary. That's not what this is. Yeah, so I think the UK's dust jacket represents the darker fairy tale-ness a bit more.
Yeah.
but I love it. You might like it because of T. Kingfisher's voice. Evie is very distinct. It's just a matter of if you'll like her voice as an author. It is not an author who just hides in the background. She has a character voice that is fun, which is why the Found Family's so good.
I liked the story that I read by
that we read in Mystic Dreams. Yeah.
So
similar type of thing where you instantly care about characters you're with, and you don't know how because it's been so short.
Yeah, I was so impressed with like how much she accomplishes in such a short, between some of the world building.
It's not even 250 pages.
Yeah.
It is 240 pages.
So good.
For sure, Stephanie, if you haven't read this yet, someone send her the book.
It's on my list. I will read it.
So sorry.
I feel like that's
I just love that book a lot.
Pointed like thing to me.
Like somebody pulling
Evie.
Well, if you send books to other people, I won't get books. I have plans for this pile of books that I haven't gotten to yet, but I have plans.
I know. I saw your latest video.
I'm acquiring plans. Anyways, Amos.
This is the one that I don't actually own. So I almost said Nettle and Bone for this.
Because it's great.
It is. So I would say that would be my honorable mention. But I actually chose an upcoming YA fantasy. So it's not out yet. I believe it comes out very soon or next month. But I was lucky enough to receive an ARC. And I'm going to show the UK cover because I think it's gorgeous. But it's The Luminaries by Susan Dennard. Because the whole premise of this story is that there is this forest, and in this forest are these things that rise every evening called nightmares. And we're talking like every nightmarish creature that you can think of, like, so werewolves, vampires, some of the more obscure fantasy creatures, like some of them I was like, that sounds like something out of D&D, but okay. And the whole thing is that there are these places around the world where this happens, and there is this network of families, and the family's job is to go into the forest every night and fight these nightmares and make sure they don't get out of the forest. So there's like a boundary and everything. And then with all of these families, they are each named for a day of the week. And so like the Mondays go into the forest on Monday, the Tuesdays go into the forest on Tuesday, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then also within these families are actually like clans. And not only do they have hunters in these clans, but then each of the clans also has like an aspect of like business or teaching or whatever that they are also responsible for. So if you're not a hunter, but you're part of one particular clan that handles the like education of other hunters, if you don't become a hunter yourself, you teach the next generation of hunters, sort of thing. And the whole thing with the town that this takes place in is it is a town of hunters. Everyone who's there is part of this. And they get them, members of the family from different countries will come over. And so it's really, really cool. And you're following this main character whose family has been disgraced and has been kicked out of their clan. And so your main character is this teenage girl who's just about to become the age at which you're allowed to do the trial to become a hunter. And there's nothing that says she can't do it, even though her family's been kicked out. And so that's the story. And so it's very oriented around like the sense of duty to your family. But then I feel like there are inklings of maybe an eventual found family, because like, of course, as things goes on, it's like, well, I thought my whole life was about my family, but maybe I don't agree with actually what they're doing. And there's a lot of other stuff going on as well, but I'm explaining that aspect of the plot for why it was picked. I loved this book. I was so pleasantly surprised because I had tried to read Susan Dennard's other series, Truth Witch, and I read Truth Witch and I liked it. It was fine. It just was like not as gripping to me. And this book gave me like Vampire Diaries, Buffy the Vampire Slayer vibes, but with like a completely new spin. And so I was just like, I just absolutely loved it. Like I'm planning to eventually acquire the book once it's published, but
when does it come out?
I want to say if it doesn't come out this month, it comes out like November. Let me see if
It's supposed to come out really soon. I've been seeing it on
Yeah.
anticipated videos.
I love the cover too.
Yeah, I mean the American cover is also great. It's very similar. It's just more black and gold.
There's some green in it too.
Yeah, there's a little bit of green. There's still the same skull though.
Yeah, I like that. So like the skull is more realistic in the American and it's more drawn for the UK. That's the biggest.
Yeah.
Also, it comes out in 2023 for the UK. We get it November 1st.
Yep. November 1st. So literally
Ooh.
next month.
November 1st is a big release day.
It is a
Yeah.
huge release day this year.
I feel like it's like they're trying to get in before the holidays in some ways, but
Is it a
All right.
Tuesday?
Well, no,
I
it's just
mean-
November 15th.
It is a
big
Tuesday.
before the. It's always the Tuesday in America, and it's always a Thursday in the
Mhm.
UK.
Yeah.
yeah, definitely recommend giving it a try. Evie, I don't think this would be up your alley, but
No, Evie, this is decidedly a YA fantasy.
Yeah.
It's 14.
yeah.
Are you trying to say that I can't enjoy YA fantasy as an adult?
You could enjoy Each of Us a Desert. Will you try it? No, so we'll never know.
Wow.
I feel like there's a little bit
Bitter.
of anger behind that statement.
I just like want more people to read Each of Us a Desert, and I just get angry all the time. Anyways.
So number 3 is 12 seasons because there were 12 seasons of the show. And
Jesus, that's impressive.
Wow.
yeah, like 20 something episodes per season.
Good
Like,
Dang.
damn.
Every actor or actress that you can think of has probably guest starred on it at some point.
The fact that no one streaming site has all of this is a crime. Continue. Sorry. I'm just-
It really is. I think it's a copyright thing, but
Most likely.
Some
I own
some
all
could
the
say
DVDs.
it's a murder.
Yes. Nicely done.
Oh. You know, when you say things like that, I just don't want you to make fun of Sanderson's humor, okay?
Listen, I like that type of humor in real life, not in my books, okay?
Anyway,
So what's your favorite long series?
I went with Realm of the Elderlings.
Evie, I assume this is also yours?
I've
Okay.
read other long series like Wheel of Time, but it's not my favorite. But this one, I actively or look forward to reading the next book in the series. And it's one that I actually finished them pretty quickly compared to how quickly I usually finish series. So that was mine.
Yeah. Realm of the Elderlings was my first pick. I guess I could choose The Dune Chronicles by Frank Herbert, but I haven't read the third book of, let alone the rest of the series through the sixth book,
So you haven't gotten to where it gets real weird.
20 years. So, yeah.
I mean, those are good. So my favorite long series that's completed is Chorus of Dragons by Jen Lyons. I don't know. The people are sleeping on this series. It's so absurdly well crafted. The fact that all 5 of these books came out in 3 years. What? So I
impressive.
love this. Ongoing, Stormlight Archives. If you don't know, I love Sanderson. It's going to be 10 books. The 4th one just came out a while ago. Can't remember when anymore. We were supposed to get the next one next year, but that won't happen because he wrote 4 other books or something like that. And
On accident.
on accident. How one stumbles upon a manuscript one has written.
I don't buy that. You don't. Okay.
He's a machine. I don't think he's human.
I mean, he truly his 2 hobbies are video games and writing stories that he likes, and he was writing them for his wife or something. I don't know, but
I mean, that's
he's outsourcing his stuff now to somebody.
well, no. So I think what he's planning on doing is there are stories in the Cosmere that he just knows he doesn't like. He could never write a horror book. Let's be real. Is Sanderson meant to write a horror book? But he has horror worlds in his Cosmere, so he can bring in someone to work on other worlds in the Cosmere where he knows what story idea he wants there, but he doesn't have the skills to execute that. So I don't think it's like someone's coming in and writing Mistborn Era 3 and Era 4. Someone's picking up a new planet and a new storyline and stuff. That's my theory. Watch me be proven wrong. I don't know Sanderson, so I don't know. But and then another one that's finished, but I'm still reading it that I really like is Malazan or Malazan or however you're supposed to say it. I still need to read book 6, but I've read 5. No, have I read 6 of them? I need to read book 7. Man, look at
Yeah,
me.
you've read 6.
I've read 6. Damn, and those are chonky. That's probably.
I was gonna say
words.
one of those books is like the equivalent of 2, maybe 2.5 books. So.
Well, it's definitely, I think, I'd have to look, but I might have read more words in Malazan than Wheel of Time, but it's going to be close, because I've read more books in Wheel of Time so far. And I do like Realm of the Elderling, but yeah.
And you got on to us for having 2 answers in the first round.
Yeah, but I read lots of long series. That's like my MO. It's like what I do. Anyways, Amos, are you going to talk to us about Wheel of Time, or is it going to be a different one?
Oh, I don't actually like Wheel of Time.
Oh, I thought
no.
you did. Who do I know that likes Wheel of Time?
Jade.
I have read a lot of Wheel of Time, so you're not, because I read it when I was younger.
That's where I'm getting it from, is that you've read a lot of them.
I have, but I read it when I was 16, so like before a lot of other like certainly before
Are you claiming
BookTube.
Wheel of Time could be marketed as a young adult series?
No, definitely not.
Because it actually was at one point. The first 3 books were published as young adult.
Funny story. Actually, I read Eye of the World as the YA version where it was split into 2 books, but I didn't know it was an adult series until I was trying to find book 2. Anywho, so not Wheel of Time. So here's the thing. I read a lot of long epic fantasy series back when I was a youngin', but I wouldn't say any of them are my favorite. So I was like really struggling with an answer here because I mostly read 3 and 4 book series until I realized that in the last couple of years I've gotten into manga. So my favorite long series to date is My Hero Academia, which is also an anime, which is how I first discovered it. But I love this story so much.
How many volumes are there?
In 20s and 30s, I think.
Oh, jeez.
Not as much as One Piece.
Not as much as One Piece. But I do know that this isn't finished, I don't think. I could be wrong. Well, neither is One Piece, actually. So
One Piece is finally going to enter its last arc, whatever that means.
On the anime or in the manga?
The manga.
Okay.
But that can still be like 20 volumes.
Yeah. And I mean, I've read pieces of One Piece, and I like One Piece, the manga. I'm actually not a huge fan of One Piece, the show. But anyways. But My Hero Academia, I just have like such a love for this series. If you don't know what it is, it's basically like a world where everybody has superpowers, but like it could be like you have an actual superpower, or it could just be like, oh, you can kind of make it mist or something. And it's called Quirks, but our main character is born quirkless. So he does not, but he wants to be a hero like his hero, which is All Might, who is the number 1 hero in his world in Japan. And then he gets an opportunity to do that. And it's kind of following his journey to like what it means to be a hero. And also you have a bunch of really wonderful side characters with, I don't know, I just love this series. And so manga wise, I've read 7 volumes so far, and I have up to volume 14 acquired.
Because there's 36 total, and it is still running.
Yeah, so
you got some...
I got some ways to go, but I love it. So definitely, if you want to check it. I also feel like this is a good like entry level manga because like it does play with like kind of the typical superhero tropes, and you definitely have some superheroes that hit those like, here's your Superman character, here's your kind of Batman character, but then also like puts a spin on it. And it's also kind of like, what does it mean to be a hero, but also what does it mean to be like a good person? And when does being a hero maybe not mean making like the best choices, but making the choice that you can in the situation? So, but yeah, so that's what I went with, because when it comes to books, I just haven't read many long book series.
Sorry, thought I was going to sneeze.
I
have a cat down here, and there's cat hair everywhere. So number 4 is Seth Hazlett, what character would be your best friend. And Seth is Jessica's best friend in Cabot Cove. He's the town doctor, and they do everything. They have dinners together, and they play chess and solve mysteries, and he's kind of a lovable grump. So, so for this one, I picked Anne Shirley from Anne of Green Gables. I feel like
Feigning surprise.
I know, we're very similar. We're both very melodramatic, and we both love literature. So, and I also love to read poetry very dramatically by myself growing up, like she does.
Did you name your trees?
No.
Oh.
No.
I did. I named my trees.
I had sticks that I gave whole personalities to.
I love it.
We always had a lot of animals, so I had animals.
Well, rub it in. We had some squirrels, but they ran away. Oh, Evie, I'm not that funny.
I'm a little slap happy. I just trying to imagine like you giving sticks whole personality.
Yeah, like not a tree, a stick.
Well, because it was like it was my horse. You know, like you're in your backyard playing games and like.
Yes.
Sorry.
I'm not rationalizing this. I was a child.
It proved you had imagination, just like Anne Shirley. Own it.
Oh, okay. Well, if anyone wants to guess what this answer is going to be.
I don't know. Frankenstein's monster? No clue.
Well, at least you referred to him correctly. Thank you.
Persuasion's main character, whose name is escaping me.
No.
Anya, Vasya? I don't know.
Yes, Vasya is my first answer, the obvious one. But I actually wrote down, because I tried to be different and I tried to have different answers from the usual, because I feel like I repeat myself.
Because you don't bring up Vasya every tag.
Yes.
Sorry, was there a fly?
Yeah, cat hair. Oh, freaking animals! I swear to God. Anyways, stick with me here, Stephanie. Stick with me, okay?
Okay.
Merrick from Lapvona.
Yeah, no, I'm ignoring all of this, but continue.
Proceed.
So, just because I felt so seen by him, everyone in Lapvona is despicable and disgusting. The whole novel's disgusting, intentionally so.
Is this character, I guess, being vague? Is there kicking involved, or is this one with the grape? Like, I'm trying to figure out which obscene thing this character's done.
This character actually hasn't done a lot of like.
Was this the main character?
And he was there to witness the grape, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Is this the main character? Because I feel like I remember people talking about the main character doing something very bad.
He is one of the main characters.
I'll type it in the chat. Unless, Ariel, you are reading Lapvona.
I have no intention of reading Lapvona, so spoil away.
Okay.
But anyways, spoiler alert to anyone watching.
Well,
yes.
I mean,
Yes.
So that's the character who's your best friend.
But he does it at the end.
Evie has a dark side.
It's true, but also mainly because even before watching interviews with Otessa Moshfegh, which Lapvona is by Otessa Moshfegh, if I didn't mention that before. There you go, it is now. Even before I watched interviews where she talked about this book, I'm like, man, I see myself so much in Marek because he is deformed and disfigured in that he's like hunchback and he's all twisted, like he's described as being so twisted that it's disgusting or something like that. And Otessa Moshfegh, at least according to herself, put a lot of herself in her struggles with her own body and her scoliosis into Marek, which I had / have scoliosis, and I'm like, that is amazing. Hey, Ariel! Yeah, Scoliosis Club.
Woo! Double curve, man.
Question with this prompt, though. You both basically just picked characters that are yourself.
Yeah,
that's not who your best friend is.
I want to be best friends with
I want to be best friends with Anne Shirley.
Okay. I'm just saying. Continue.
I had
I just
no
know why this
friends
is a good
growing up
friend
who read the
candidate. I'm
same
just
books
curious.
as I do.
I mean, I would say that, yeah, I had no friends growing up, but I think and I just was friends with myself. But it sounds better when I'm like, oh, I want to be best friends with me, because I love
Also,
myself.
I
if you
don't
can't
like
be
my
friends
personality
with
enough to
yourself-
spend time with me. My personality is too much. It is grating. Whenever I meet someone with my personality, I'm just like, sir, we have to work on this. This is not one of our better traits. You need to hold it back. You need to hold it back.
Angela, you are saucy tonight.
Every night. Anyways, continue with this weird.
Oh no,
Oh
that
my
was
gosh.
it. That was
I'll
it.
buy it. I'm with you now.
Okay, that was it. That's all I got.
I'm concerned, but
Listen, if this is the point at which you get concerned for my well-being, did you even truly know me before? I don't know.
okay, so my best friend character is the character that I've read in fiction who reminds me of my in real life best friend. That's how I took this prompt.
I did too, if it makes you feel better.
And that is Roger from Middle Game by Seanan McGuire. Middle Game is one of my favorite books of all time. Evie's not allowed to touch this with like a 5-foot stick. Like, truly.
Is this stick your friend too?
Because my love of this is that when I first read it, I was reminded of my young friendship with my best friend.
Just so you know, I love you, Angela.
This is what happens when Katrina can't do the tag. We all turn on each other.
She's the glue that held us together.
I'm just gonna keep showing you guys this ominous hand.
I'm
This
sorry.
hand kills people.
I
I'm
wasn't
sorry.
expecting the stick.
Thinking you about Middle Game and why I shouldn't read it. Why
Because you're not going to like the writing style. You're going to find it saccharine, and you're not going to connect with the characters. And then the plot itself is not strong enough to hold this together. I'll be the first to admit.
I did not like Seanan McGuire's story in Mythic Dream. So
I didn't like that one either, though. Remember, we talked about this. I didn't like that short story. This is the only work that I've actually really loved by Seanan McGuire. I've tried 4 others at this point. So it might just be because I love Roger and Dodger so much. Roger is very into words and linguistics, and that is very much my friend. I became a physicist, very analytical. My best friend became a lawyer. So it very much lines up with this. And it's very rare that I get to read books with like intense platonic bonds, like ride or die platonic bonds. Like almost more ride or die than some intense, passionate romance books. Like, this is truly like, I will die without you platonic bonds. And like, sometimes you need that. And then this one viscerally reminds me of my dynamic with my best friend. So that's why it's Roger. I'm not quite as neurotic as Dodger in this book, but it's close.
So for mine, I did much the same interpretation where I picked mine based off of a character that actually does remind me of my best friend. And so I picked Zora from The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. This is the first book in a romance series called The Dreamland Billionaires. And it's actually inspired by Disney. So like, it's like the company of Disney. So this one revolves around a theme park called Dreamland, which is Disneyland, Disney World. And then the next book, I believe, follows a brother who has to do something with like the corporate company. And then I actually don't know what the third one is, but Zara in this one, she becomes so she works in like the boutique that does the makeovers for young children to be like princes and princesses, which if you've ever been to Disneyland is the Bippity Boppity Boutique, home of the famous Bippity Boppity Meltdown. But so she works there, and then she had a relationship with the romantic interest's grandfather, platonic, over their love of everything that is Dreamland. And so she decides to apply to be what the frick do they call them in this? It's basically an Imagineer. but it's just called, I think they're called like Dreamers or something. And she's just so like quirky and like loves music, and she's very into the vision of Disneyland and the whimsy of it and embracing everything about it. And that just reminds me of my best friend. And also she's like really sassy and will 100% call out the love interest, even though he's her boss, and kind of be like, you're being a dumbass, which also reminds me of my best friend. And so that was like, when I was looking at this, I was like, yeah, that would be this character, because this character is literally my best friend. So that's what I picked. Also, if you want something like fun, romance-wise, there are moments where it does kind of toe into that, like, I don't want to say 50 Shades of Grey because it's not that, but there were moments where it's like the main character, he's
smutty.
It's not, I mean, there's smut, but it's not like BDSM smut, which even 50 Shades of Grey, from what I've heard from that community, is not even a good representation of that. But he is a little like controlling, but he also backs it off. I don't know if I'm selling this very well, but I really enjoyed this. Like, I devoured this. I'm also a huge, like, I had a Disneyland annual pass when I lived in California. So I also have a love for Disneyland specifically. So this was like, I could see all of the like inspiration that she drew from, but she did it in a way where it's like you knew exactly what it was, but it didn't feel like she was just mimicking it completely. Like, she does put her own spin on it. So I really enjoyed it. And the main character, I just absolutely adored her. She's very fierce, very like hardworking, will stand up for herself, and just, yeah. So I would want to be her best friend.
So prompt number 5 is Amos Tupper, the good guy, a book with a genuinely nice character. So Amos is the first sheriff in the show for the maybe like half of it. And he's just really, really nice, says hi to everyone in town, wants to do the right thing, even though sometimes he's not the smartest while trying to solve mysteries. But so I picked a side character from Adam Bede. There's a character, Dinah, and she's a female minister. And I like her because she's just genuinely nice to everyone, no matter what their beliefs are or what their faults are. And she really like practices what she preaches. And she was like the sweetest person in this whole book. So I just love her.
So I had trouble with this one because I'm like, man, do I read any books with actual good people in it?
Questionable. It is questionable.
It's true. I mean,
Especially
see my
after
answer for the previous one, what I would consider a best friend. So I went with Aro from the Vanish Birds.
Nice.
He's not necessarily a good guy. I think he is, but he's just more innocent, and it's, I don't know, I just love him. He's so great. So the Vanish Birds is a space opera. It's technically sci-fi space opera, but it's like there are folkloric elements to it, and it's written by Simon Jimenez, who is gone 2 for 2 with books so far, and I will read anything and everything he will write. So Angela, you could probably sell this book more than I could. It's just really hard to describe for me. It's just, his writing is very lyrical without being purpley or too flowery, and it's very soothing the way that he writes. So, and the way that he tells stories.
Yeah, I mean, when I talk about it, I think it's unapologetically truly a science fiction book. But I also just push back a lot at people who are like, oh, had too many folklore elements in my sci-fi. Like, you weren't doing that, but people do that, like with Remote Control by Nadia Corford. And I'm like, folklore is allowed in sci-fi. Yeah. Stop being so aggressive. Like, guess what? When you travel to other planets, they might have their own history.
I was just about to say, I'm sorry, how do you handle all of the like alien cultures?
You get
and
to go to other planets. You're traveling through a thing where you lose time. There's corporations that are greedy as hell, so that theme is very present. We had to leave Earth because we messed it up. There's a lot of classic sci-fi in here. It's inspired by freaking Hyperion, which no one's going to question if that's a sci-fi book.
Mm-hmm.
So, is a sci-fi book, but Evie's right. It has a writing quality that's a very distinct voice, and you won't know right away if it's for you because he kind of starts giving you 3 major threads and you don't even know how they're going to weave, but it's a French braid. Just go with it. It'll be fine.
That is the perfect way to describe it. A French braid.
Yeah. I just thought of it because I've been learning how to French braid my hair. So much. What was mine for this? Oh, this was easy for me. It's Alizad from Davabad Trilogy.
Nice.
Oh,
He's just
He is a
yeah.
good, he's a cinnamon roll.
even people
Yeah.
who don't like him, it's like, well, he's too nice.
Yeah.
He's
This
too
is
naive.
another one that I have to stay away from, right?
Well, you tried this one and it didn't work for you. And I'm like, well, I could have told you that, Evie. You don't want this much escapism in your fantasy. But no, he's really nice. He's a warrior bookworm. And truly, he just wants to do the right thing if he was just able to. Like, if the universe would just let the right thing happen. He doesn't like the prejudice that exists in his own country. He doesn't like how people in his family are treated or how they are treating other people. He is really, truly, and honestly trying his best. And it almost always leads to chaos. And I love it. So... He was almost a best friend candidate because warrior bookworm, I'm a sucker, truly.
I feel like no one's going to be surprised, but I'm also going to probably add an additional one to this because I just thought of it. But I did Linus Baker from House in the Cerulean Sea. I mean, it's like,
I would argue he's not a nice guy. He becomes a nice guy.
I don't think so because he's so just like polite. And he doesn't ever talk back to anyone. And I feel like most nice people don't. Because I think like by the end of this book, he has a spine and knows how to like overcome his nice guy.
See, I took it more as a yes man attitude, but sure.
I think it could go both ways. But I also would add, so I'm currently reading Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater.
I know what book you're talking about. I don't know if that's her last name.
I might be mispronounce. I might be messing that up, but I think that's right. And I would say actually the main character of that, Dora, the character who only has half a soul. So like the whole thing is like she only has half a soul because of a fairy encounter. And so she doesn't feel emotion in the way that most people do because she only has half a soul, or so she thinks, at least. But she just genuinely cares about people. And as the story goes on, that becomes more prevalent because she always, and part of it is because like, since she doesn't feel emotion the same way as if like someone insults her, it doesn't like bother her. And so she almost looks at everything very logically, but she also just cares deeply for the well-being of others, which is what you kind of see as the story goes on. So I would also say Dora from Half a Soul is a genuinely nice person. So those are my 2 answers.
Nice. So number 6 is Michael Hagerty, your favorite morally gray character.
He truly is morally gray.
Yes.
He's learned.
But Jessica Fletcher always gets like randomly meets him wherever she's at, and then she gets swept up in whatever shenanigans he's in. Usually it's like an espionage thing, and he kind of toes the line, but he's ultimately a good guy. Just may not have the best methods of getting there. So I have 2 answers for this. The first is almost every single character in the Greenbone saga. And then also almost every character in Malazan. There's so many.
I don't think they're as morally gray in Malazan as they are in Greenbone.
Well, yeah, but they both have them, and they're both so well written.
Yeah, I just guess I wouldn't say it's every character. Like, I mean, Whiskey Jack is not morally gray.
You are feisty tonight.
I'm just saying, I disagree with the Malazan take. It's one of the things that doesn't make it grimdark.
Well, apparently Lucy agrees with you.
That's just an agreement.
That's rude. It's just because you made me give her a straw that one time.
I was very pro cat getting straw, especially if it's not my cat.
Straw.
And you don't have to find the straw later. Like,
but I 100% agree with Greenbone. Like, yes. Well, actually, But to quote Fonda Lee, and you were there for the chat, she pushes back against this because they do play within the morals of their culture. We're inserting our own morals on whether they're morally gray.
They do.
Because that's what she said in an interview, and I do agree that we were inserting our own moral code onto these green bones. But I don't know any other way to be, so.
All right. What is morally gray? I still struggle with that. So, sorry, Stephanie, I kind of interpreted this prompt a little bit. So I'm picking Pulling the Wings Off Angels by KJ Parker. It comes out in November, actually. It's a novella. And much like with anything and everything of KJ Parker's that I've read so far, everyone is very, like, they're not good, but they're not, like, they're all very selfish and they're going towards their own, like, goals. And they're going about that in however, the best way that they think that they can get their goal. But anyways, Pulling the Wings Off Angels is the perspective of an unnamed protagonist who is in really dire situations. He owes a lot of money to this gambler or debt collector and loan shark. That's what it is. And he's told that he has to go kill an angel. And in this world, angels do actually exist. And it's the same world that the company and the hammer and the folding knife and all of KJ Parker's other works are set in. And it's like 120-ish pages. And it's just pretty much an exploration of religion and divinity and good versus evil and just the absolutism of divinity. And I think it's so hit a chord with me, and I loved it. So that is my answer for that one.
All right, who wants to guess mine? Come on, it's easy.
Not Malazan.
Wonder if it's going to be the same. Yep, and I'm going to have to find a backup. Except I picked
Vargo.
And I knew you were gonna pick
This is actually Vargo's face.
Yes, and I actually don't own Liar's Knot, so that's why I had to pick Mask of Mirrors.
Fake fan. I'm kidding. You're not a fan whether you own
touch
stuff
the
or not.
cover.
I'm telling you.
It's the
Feisty.
cover. It's one of the ones that I can't okay, we don't need to go down that road.
I mean, I honestly was just kidding. It does not matter if you own or don't own things in your hands.
I would like to own it. I'll get it eventually.
Did I go through every copy they had to pick the least bad one? Yes. But they're all bad because they're all orbit floppy things and they don't care about the binding. And it's really dumb. Anyways, Vargo is great. I don't know. I just love him. In this series, he is the leader of gangs, but he's also trying to become a part of the upper echelon of society, which both sides of that are morally gray. And he's very suave. He plays all fields. Like, he will flirt with anything that moves. He's charming. He's charismatic. He has a pet spider.
Mr. Peabody.
Mr.
I love
Peabody.
Mr. Peabody.
Mr. Peabody's great. Yeah, another sense of moral grayness. Does one have a pet spider? Just so you know, Leslie likes this spider, Evie.
I like this spider, and I hate spiders.
Same.
It's also one of the scary, colorful spiders, and it's like this big.
Yeah.
It's huge.
It's massive.
But he plays card games, and he dances, and he wears cool costumes. I love him.
The
But
spider
yes,
or Vargo?
Both.
Vargo. Peabody's fine. Peabody's very funny. Peabody is a great character in his own right, but Vargo is like, what a great take on the orphan child on the street that doesn't follow the chosen one path of every other fantasy story.
100% agree.
So, anyways, that's mine. I just love Vargo. I don't think it's that hard. I think a lot of people do, but if anyone starts hating Vargo, I'm going to be a Vargo apologist till the day I die. So.
Yep.
In the first book, I had to defend him a little because people were angry at him for no reason. But
so what she said, or what she said, because
that's fine. We could have the same one. He's great.
I love him. I also would say Ren has moments of morally gray, which was also my answer for this. Even Gray is morally gray at times.
I was
not
thinking
nearly as much.
No, I think Ren's a great one.
Yeah, so I would say like Ren, great. So I also
I
just
think it's what makes her one of the better con artist characters because
Mhm.
I think making a con artist character is so
It's
tropey.
hard.
It's tropey, but most people can't pull it off because then they're too nice to make you believe that they can fool people.
Yeah.
And Ren, like, she cares about her family, and that is
Mhm.
it.
And she will do whatever it means to keep that family
And even
safe.
within her own world's views, she breaks rules even in the underworld that are
Mhm.
questionable. And it's great.
Yeah. So I'll say Ren to just build on that. I would also say, like, because I do have a soft spot for Six of Crows, that you could also say Casbreaker.
Yeah.
I mean, most people do.
Yeah. But I'll go with Ren. Just keep the Mask of Mirror look. Do we know when book 3 is coming
Next summer.
out?
Yeah.
Yes, that's a lot sooner than I thought. So that's
Yeah,
exciting.
they submitted it. So as of now, it has its holding date as August 2023. I don't know if that's the official, but next summer.
As long as it's next in 2023, I'm good with that.
I'm trying so hard not to reread it this winter already. Like, it's like, that's too soon. You don't have another book ready.
Yeah, I was like, I want to reread Mask of Mirrors and I want to reread Liar's Knot, especially because like the beginning of Liar's Knot I struggled with, and I honestly think it had nothing to do with the book. I think it's because I did not reread Mask of Mirrors before I picked up Liar's Knot, so I want to like binge them.
Yep.
Fair. Number 7, Mort Metzger. Book with someone who moves to a new town. So like halfway through the seasons or the series, Amos retires and Mort becomes the new sheriff and he moves there from New York. So I picked a cozy mystery and it's Steeped to Death by Gretchen Rue. And it has a gigantic chunky cat named Bob.
And is there tea? There's tea and a cat?
Yes. There's magic tea.
Evie, we're missing out with Cozy Mysteries. I'm just saying, we're missing out.
You are. And it's adorable. But she had visited her aunt growing up, the main character, but she didn't really know how magical her aunt was till she moved to the new town. And it's a really cozy, fun mystery. And it just came out, I think, last month. So it's the start of a series.
Nice. So mine for this is Butcher's Crossing by John Williams. Technically, the character doesn't, well, he moves to a new town, but it's to go out west, in the go west young man type situation. But it follows oh God, I'm blanking on his name. William, oh gosh, I'm blanking on his last name. But anyways, the character is a young, like college age type kid. He moves from New England out west to go experience the romanticized American West in the 1800s, excuse me. And John Williams has this ability to put into words things that you didn't realize you were looking for. His prose is really, really just another smooth writer. But Butcher's Crossing is a book that basically follows a buffalo hunt from start to finish, and it's really disgusting but really beautifully written. I still think about a couple of things that happened, and he manages to not only pay homage to the Western genre and just the Western ideal, or American West, I should say, but he also kind of subverts those that the ideals. There you go. He subverts those ideals as well, and challenges those ideals, which I thought was really just genius in my opinion. But yeah, Butcher's Crossing.
Mine is Goliath by Tochi Onibuchi. It's a good one, isn't it?
It is a good one.
It's a really good one.
I stared at that on my shelf earlier too, and I did not pick it up.
David and Jonathan travel from a colony in space to New Haven, Connecticut, where they disrupt the lives of the people already living there. That is essentially the plot of the story, is how gentrification from space back to Earth affects those that were left behind on a kind of a post-apocalyptic landscape. In Goliath, its namesake, it really plays with the David and Goliath myth. It doesn't subvert it or anything. It just points out a part of the myth we don't think about. Like what happens to the Palestinians.
Yep.
That part of it is very much highlighted. Who is David and who is Goliath? Who gets to decide? It's the person who wins the story, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So the Goliath of the story, actually, if we were imposing our view of David and Goliath, would have been our David. But the story, you know, that's just one thread of it. There's a shit ton of other biblical references and literary references, and then references to minority cultures. Like if you've ever played spades in the South, there's a whole scene here just dedicated to the culture of playing spades, which, if you don't know, is a trick-taking card game that is beloved. I know how to play, but I don't know if I could hang, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know if I'm ferocious enough, because you're not supposed to bid too much, and I'm always too optimistic in my hands. But so this is very it's definitely Tochi's style of just aggressive plot development, where like you wonder where am I in the timeline, because it's non-linear. Who am I with? Why do I care about them? Because there's like 20 plus perspectives. Like, I hear the audiobook's really good because there's narrators for each one.
It is really good.
But it all does come together, and it's heart-wrenching, and it's a scathing commentary. And the research he did to predict how this could play out, if, you know, things went bad on Earth and the rich could leave, and then who's left behind, and then what happens when they want to come back. Like, if that's a thought experiment you want to see fleshed out. It's very American-centric, though. Like, unfortunately, it's like very much a view of like continental US and how that would respond. It doesn't really do world building past that, but the world building it does do, I think, is really well thought out.
So this is another one that I don't own, but I picked a romance. I went on a romance kick the last couple of months because I just needed like to turn my brain off. So I picked Dog Friendly by Victoria Shade. I may not be saying her last name correctly, but the premise of this is you're following your main character, who is a veterinarian, and so I didn't know this, and I think when I read it, I looked it up, and it's somewhat true that veterinarians have a really high rate of suicide because of what they have to deal with. So there are some content warnings for this book. It doesn't go like full force into it, but it does reference that this is something that happens with veterinarians because they are dealing with hurt animals, and most veterinarians, I think all veterinarians, have a deep love of animals, but they're also dealing with humans who maybe don't share that and maybe don't want to do what they need to do to help their animal, or have done everything that they can and there's nothing more that can be done. They also become the punching bag for those emotional outbursts and those sort of things. And so the main character she essentially has a nervous breakdown. Like, she has like a breakdown. And so one of her long-term clients, who has a senior dog, it's like a little schnauzer, if I remember correctly, who has a lot of special needs medically, the couple offers her the opportunity to live at their house on Nantucket for the summer and take care of their senior dog while they do like a book tour. The couple is a male romance couple. I believe they're married, so it's a husband, and they have like almost like a fixer-upper style business sort of thing that they're like, and they're doing like a book sign. I can't remember the exact details, but so she takes the opportunity and moves to Nantucket for the summer. And also while she's there, she takes in a foster dog who has a lot of behavioral issues. And what was really interesting about this book is the author who wrote it is a trainer. And so as someone who grew up working with animals and dogs in particular and training dogs, I found that really awesome. So it's like you can see the inspiration. And it's a romance. So of course she goes there and she meets like a surfer dude and, you know, kind of like finds herself again is kind of what you're following. But I loved this book so much. You don't have any like, you don't need to worry if the dog dies or anything like that. And some of the relationships that she has with the people on the island as a result of their dogs, the dogs that she's taking care of, and the people that she meets there. It was just like a really lovely story. So, and also someone who grew up on Cape Cod, I didn't spend a lot of time in Nantucket, but there were a lot of like things that I was like, oh yeah, I know where this is in Nantucket. Like, so it was like, I don't know. I just really, really enjoyed it. So when I was like, oh, I need one where someone goes somewhere
I didn't know you grew up on Cape Cod. We always visit Dennisport when we go because it's like the place no one goes to.
Yep. So I grew up in Yarmouthport, so right on the Dennis line.
I like Dennisport. They have that stupid cow cafe on the beach. That's like
Yep.
really.
Yep.
There's a lot of cows.
Yep. There's. So I grew up on Cape Cod. So this was kind of like going home in a lot of ways. And then the dog aspect also was great. It's really cute.
Which was asleep, and you started talking about dogs, and now he's down here like.
Does he know like the word? Like,
So he's happy now.
He's like, friends?
Right?
Friends?
So who are you talking to?
I'm going to try and not pick the one that you're going to pick, Ariel, for this next prompt. I think I'll succeed. I don't know.
I purposely picked a different one because I have a feeling the one you both are going to pick.
I don't know for sure. My main one that I'm picking, no one else will pick but me because I think I'm the only one who's read it. But the ones that I have read, I think other people could say, except for Evie, because I don't think Evie would ever touch what I'm thinking of.
I will say I was
not because
torn.
you have bad taste, but because you have good taste.
So,
with all of that tension,
right, is Eve Simpson. So she's the real estate agent in town. She's very uses her feminine wiles to romance the male people in town to buy, real estate. She's kind of like a little more tame Blanche Devereaux. She's not quite as so she's just very man crazy. So I picked a book I actually just finished last week for Victober, and that's The Cleverings by Anthony Trollope. And it's
Wait, what's it called again?
The Cleverings.
Oh, Cleverings. Okay.
Yeah, it's the family name in the book. But it follows this guy, and he had this romance with this woman back in the day, and then they didn't stay together because of class differences. And so fast forward, and he's with someone else, and then she shows back up. And at first I thought it was going to be super tropey, but it actually isn't like a typical love triangle. But I like the exploration of all their relationships, and it didn't quite end how I thought it would, but I was happy with it. And it's actually on the shorter side for Trollope. It's like 500 pages. So it reads pretty fast though.
Wait, can you hold that book up again? It didn't look like it was a 500-page book.
I know.
Oh, wait, okay, yeah, that's why, because it was on your phone. Goodness gracious, Ariel, pay attention.
I thought you just meant that like books didn't used to be that long. I'm like, see Charles Dickens, but
no, it's like a lot of his books are like 700 or 800 pages. So yeah, but it reads really fast because it was a very sweet story.
Is Trollope English or is he French?
English.
I don't know why I thought he was French for the longest time. I don't know.
The name doesn't sound English or French, so maybe
no, it sounds made up if I'm being honest. But maybe that's just because I'm thinking of like the insult of being called a trollop.
Or the vicious Trollope lipstick from Gilmore Girls.
Yep. Oh, well, that's actually probably exactly why I went there.
All right, Evie, favorite romance or a romance book or something?
I have a feeling.
That tonight?
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I would have to give back my reader card if I didn't say Persuasion by Jane Austen.
Yep.
And Eliot and Frederick Wentworth are the best second chance romance on the planet. Although I will say that having reread Emma, I have a pure and unadulterated love for Emma and Mr. Knightley. I think their romance is like, they are fantastic. I love their banter and just Mr. Knightley is literally the only character that says "I love you" on the page.
Yeah,
which is
He's
amazing.
swoony.
Of Austen's novels, sorry.
I was going to say, I don't think I'd ever actually thought about that, and you're 100% right. Huh.
Yeah. Like how all the Jane Austen fans watching are just like going through each book.
Yeah.
I mean,
Meanwhile, me having only read Pride and Prejudice.
I was going to say, I've only actually read a few of Jane Austen's books, and that's Mansfield Park, which I've read. I've lost count. I read Pride and Prejudice for the first time last year, and I've read Emma.
I don't really like the romances in Sense and Sensibility. I like Colonel Brandon, and I do not like the romance in Mansfield Park, even though I love Fanny Price. Like, she's like, next to Anne Elliot, she's my favorite protagonist of Austen's.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, basically Emma, Northanger Abbey, Pride and Prejudice, and Persuasion. Like, those any of the romances in those four. So
Mm-hmm.
All right. I could take my really easy swing because I read both Ali Hazelwood books this year, but I'm not. But I read both of them. They are my trope
That's
candy.
what I thought you were going to go for.
But instead, I'm going with a surprise, a sleeper hit. I'm going with The Hacienda.
is this the one that I'm not allowed to read?
No, you could read The Hacienda. I don't know.
Okay. What's
I
the one
haven't-
I'm not allowed to read?
No, Ali Hazelwood is fan fiction romance. I
Oh,
just
okay.
can't imagine.
Yeah,
having
you
a
would
good
not
time.
enjoy.
But it's so good.
It's truly just about the pining and the absurd scenarios, and
Yeah, they're very tropey. They're fun.
like you have, like literally, the comfort is that you know exactly how she will perform the trope you want to see desperately.
Mhm.
This is gothic, and I think I now finally understand why people like gothic romances because of this book. Because I think up until then, I'd just been like, I don't understand what you guys are all doing, loving these gothic romances. Like, I don't understand them. And this one, we have Beatrice going to this hacienda, and it's haunted. It's a very haunted hacienda, which means ranch. And then she has to enlist the help of this priest, Father Andres. And they have to be in really creepy scenarios with each other in this really creepy house, and they have to trust each other, and it's just so much slow burn. Like, it's not pining, it's just this like instant trust attraction, noticing when hands are just touching, like that type of stuff. And I just really love like in stressful high stakes scenarios when you have two people who are just like, we're in it together, like what else are we going to do, here we are, and then we also happen to have chemistry, and I really like it. But this is like your classic gothic of like, this woman marries a mysterious man and ends up on his house by herself, and it's haunted, and what's going on. Add in commentary on colonialism.
I was gonna say, do you now have a concrete definition of what gothic is? Because I know you always you're like, what is
I know
gothic?
this is an example of gothic horror. I know this is an example of the classic version, but I still think that like it's like grimdark. It's a very nebulous term. A lot of like, it's like,
I would agree with that.
I know it when it's so purposefully in the box you can't ignore it. But when we're talking about the like lines between classifications, I'm like, so this like happens just like it's hitting all of the boxes. It reminded me of an Alfred Hitchcock movie, which I love.
Ooh.
That.
Ooh.
I really want to read this book.
Like, or like it reminds me of the movie Gaslight, which had Angela Lansbury in it. Where you just have literally this character who like is dealing with the haunting of this place, and everyone thinks she's crazy, but like the place is haunted. Like, it's not okay. So, but like truly, it's just like, and it's short. Like, in the audiobook is the way to go for this one. Because the two narrators might be why I like the romance, because their voices also like, I'm just attracted to both of the characters. This is like my mummy. Like, I'm just like, you both are great.
That makes me want to read this even more.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and like, it's also just like, it's a fun, spooky time for this time of year with great character chemistry and also like great thematic commentary, like lightly there about colonialism, being biracial and mestizo and like language, because it's 1800s when this takes place. So it's right after the Mexican Revolution. It was great. I'll read anything Isabel Cañas comes out with. She also is a history major. Or not major, professor.
Is that her debut? Or
at least in fiction. I presume she might be published elsewhere. But so yeah.
I do really want to read. That was on my like spooky book list.
It was
for
perfect
October.
spook. There were times where I was like, oh,
Yeah.
you should not listen to this before bed anymore, Angela.
Oh,
So
good to know. Because
it's not like super scary. It was just like me, like my imagination can get a little.
I'm the same. 'Cause I don't do like legit horror, but I'll do like thriller or like paranormal thriller, and this sounded like up my alley.
It's like I never got like terrified I couldn't be in my house at dark, but it was definitely like
Yeah.
Like,
On the edge.
I mean, I'm glad it's a book and not a movie. Anyways, what's yours?
So I feel like the earlier one was the thought that I would pick one of Allie Hazelwood's books, but I'm not sure. I did think of that, but actually when I like really had to think about my favorite romance, and it's Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I just love this. This is like one of the few things where like I tabbed it. I'm not a big like annotator. And I just love this book so much. I love the romance in it. I love that there's some familial relationships, and then just the love of literature that is in here as well. So like there's like the romance, and then there's like the romance of books and the romance of working with books. And so that's like I feel like even like when I went down like my romance book hole recently, I was really just chasing the high that I got from reading this book, and I haven't been able to find it. Probably won't. Maybe I should just reread this one. But yeah, this is like probably my favorite romance book. I mean, I have other books that I love that have romance in them, but when I was like favorite romance, I was immediately like, nope, it's definitely this one. I do love Love Hypothesis, though. That was my second choice.
I think it's so weird because I think I technically like Love on the Brain more, but I think Love Hypothesis is better. I can't decide.
I didn't love Love on the Brain. I was disappointed.
See, I didn't like Olive at all, so B was way better for me to follow. And I was actually at the moment searching for the like, okay, I need my new like Edward Cullen adjacent hero, which I thought was more in Love on the Brain than the other one. It was way more obvious. Oh, he really loves you. Move on. Like he really,
right. You know? I mean, I feel like I think I liked Olive because, like, much like some of the other characters we've talked about, there were moments where I saw myself in Olive. And in Love on the Brain, I liked the main character, but I didn't there were a lot of moments where she reacted to stuff in a way that I didn't think the character that I had been given at the beginning would react. But I don't know if that's fair, because obviously also, like, I don't know, I could go down a whole
I mean, I would say
spiral
that
on
you
this.
giving any credence to Love on the Brain's consistency within world building and character reaction would be generous. I don't think that's the type of book it was trying to be.
No. But
I think B is honestly a self-insert for the author. Like, there's so many things in their lives.
Oh,
like,
it definitely is.
Yeah.
It definitely
I
is.
didn't like Olive because she was a trope of a grad student that I was angry that a fellow PhD wrote.
That's fair.
I was just really angry the whole time. It's
Yeah.
like, well, also because it was inaccurate in ways that was annoying, and that she kept bringing up, like, how hungry she was. I'm like, you have money for food. You are not starving for a banana.
Right. Yeah. That I totally
They came up,
understand
like,
that part.
7 times. I'm like, Olive, you have food.
But then,
Olive.
like, see, that was my problem with B, because B's obsessive thing was, oh no, he's being nice to me. He can't like me. He hates me. And that was my other problem with B, is because B was set up to be the person who doesn't give a fuck. Excuse my language.
I didn't actually ever get that from B. I
see,
just thought of, I knew that was just part of the romance. And that's the difference is like, oh, this is
Yeah.
a typical thing in romance that I'm just going to ignore because she'll get over it eventually. So it's like with Feyre, where I just ignore her and I don't focus on her.
I mean, I'm with you there. Feyre is not my favorite, but like with B, like the way that they set her up at the beginning, she struck me as the woman that was just like, this is me, this is who I am. If you
I
don't
saw her
like
as
it, whatever.
incredibly insecure. Oh, okay.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I read her as incredibly insecure and self-conscious.
Mm-hmm. I didn't.
Especially after her big breakup. Anyways, this is not a love on the brain chat.
No.
But it had the tropes I wanted. It kept me up very late. I did not like the plot at the end. I think she needs to learn that her books don't need a plot. That's
Yeah.
every romance author I read.
Just focus on the romance and just hang there.
Just the plot is irrelevant. More cats, less plot.
I haven't read it yet because I'm still on a love hypothesis high.
I think you should wait until you're feeling it again because it's just going to be like a nice injection of like what you missed before.
That was the other thing. I actually do think because I was listening, I technically still am, to Love Hypothesis on audio as like my book that like I was listening to as like I walked Malcolm and all of that. And so I was listening to Love Hypothesis while reading Love on the Brain. And I think putting them so close to each other was a massive mistake. So I would definitely like,
oh no, I would. It's like with Sarah J. Maas where like I never marathon her books. It's like if I'm feeling it, I'm going to take one directly into my veins and then move on because I have been cleansed for like 6 months till I need a fix again. It's like February and November. It's a weird time. Anyways, Evie and Stephanie, sorry, we took over with weird romance.
Sorry.
Yeah, so my thing is like, because I started off romance with Jane Austen, she set a high bar for me, and I'm just like, can I just have another Jane Austen, but like modern day, like don't get like I'm not a prude or anything by any means, but I'm like I like the thrill of the chase without actually consummating that. There you go. Okay, I guess I'm gonna do that.
But it does exist. You just have to like not read the popular ones.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't read it. So you read Half a Soul. Does Half a Soul get graphic? I can't remember because people.
I'm about 60% in, and no.
Because I heard it compared to like Regency romance, which doesn't always get on page. They can, but they don't always.
Yeah, I would say this is like, because even like the way it was pitched to me, because I was on the fence about it, was that it's like if you took a Regency novel and then inserted some magic to it. So like you have the main character going to London to go debut and find a husband. And you have all of the like, all right, how do you get invited to this ball? And does she have a dress and all of that? And then you have this other element of she's missing half her soul because a fairy took it. And what does that mean? And there's a weird sleeping sickness that's afflicting children. And she's kind of got a little like budding romance. Most of this is on the back of the book. So I'm not spoiling anything, I don't think. But like, so then there's like the Lord Sorcier, which I'm probably butchering the French pronunciation of that, but who is like her sort of love interest. And he's a little bit Mr. Darcy, but also a little bit other Austen-esque hero thing. So like, I do think that's done very well. And then like, it's not as like, the writing is not, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but it's not as dense as reading an actual Regency era romance. So it's been very fun. I've been enjoying it immensely, especially because I'm reading it while I'm also very slowly making my way through North and South, because I read like Jane Austen. It took me, I kid you not, it took me 3 months to read Pride and Prejudice. Like I know we're doing a buddy read of North and South, but I'm going to be so slow because like from my attention span, I have to take my time. So it's been really interesting having those right next to each other because I can see what she's drawing from even in like North and South, which that's still technically Regency, right? No, it's not. It's Victorian.
Yeah.
Okay, so
either way,
both of those like eras.
I mean, they're back to back.
So you might like it, Evie. I mean, it's going to be like more of like a popcorn book. It's not going to be like.
I will also say the relationship development to Nettle and Bone is so slow I don't even bring it up, but I love it.
Yeah, I was
It's
actually.
so slow, and it does not.
It does not.
It has negative spicy stars.
Yeah. No spice. But yeah, I also loved the romance in Ellen.
But like, I don't bring it up because if I say it has a romance and people read it, it's like, what are you talking? Because it's like literally not the point.
Yeah, that's not the focus.
So Katrina, when you're watching this, good thing I got you half a soul. So.
All right, we should probably end before this gets out of hand because we could talk forever.
I
This just tells me we need to hang out more.
Yes. So I did want to tag one person, my cozy mystery twin, Tiffany from Beach Bum Bookworm. She will totally do this. She also loves Murder, She Wrote. So I'm tagging her. Do you guys have anyone you want to tag?
I feel like Alan has probably seen Murder, She Wrote.
I think he has.
We should just have him do the tag anyways.
I was say I feel like
there's a lot
some
of
dances would be
justice in this
interesting.
series, right? There's a lot of justice in Murder, She Wrote.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I
mean, it's Angel and Lane's
because I think we talked about it in his Discord one day.
All right, Alan from the Library of Alexandria.
I'm trying to. I don't know people who watch this show, but we could just tag Judith from Deadly Book Reviews because I love her, and I'm just.
She would have some good answers.
She would. So I'm tagging Judith. That's what I got.
I
mean, who I want to tag is Mara, but Mara doesn't do book tags on her channel, so it's a waste of my time. But she's our cozy mystery reader. Like I'm just saying, she's an Agatha Christie lover. Like, it would be perfect. But
is Agatha Christie considered a cozy mystery?
No, but a lot of cozy mysteries pull from her stuff, just makes it cozy.
Okay, gotcha.
I mean, Stephanie can correct me, but that was my impression.
Okay, because I had a moment I was like, "That's cozy." Okay.
I read and then there were none. That is not cozy.
No.
Like, oh.
Okay, well, we're gonna end this now before it's 2 hours long. So, thank you. If you see this, consider yourself tagged. Have a good night, everyone, and we'll see you next time.